Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a really fascinating idea. What's the difference between something that's just complicated and something that's truly complex? Because, trust me, knowing the difference changes everything about how you solve problems.
You know, this one little thought right here, it's a total game changer. And to really get why, let's just imagine a scenario. I think you'll find it's pretty familiar.
Okay, so imagine you walk into a room. But this is no ordinary room. It's more like a perfectly designed escape room, and it's built out of your own company's assumptions, hidden dependencies, and all those little half-truths that float around.
This right here, this captures that feeling of being completely stuck, doesn't it? You see all the familiar buzzwords on the walls, you've read all the reports on the tables, but the big picture just isn't there. You try your usual methods, but you're just running in circles. And that's exactly what happens when you treat a complex problem like it's just a complicated one.
So what's the actual difference? Well, think of it like this. A complicated problem is like a car engine. Yeah, it's got tons of moving parts, it's difficult, but an expert can take it apart and put it back together, because the rules are clear. A complex problem, though, that's like a citywide traffic jam. There's no single cause, right? The weather, an accident, a big game, everything affects everything else in ways you just can't predict.
So when you're in that problem chamber, another key for another door isn't going to help you. What you really need is a map of the whole system. And this is where something like the MINGRAI Atlas comes in. It doesn't give you a simple key. It gives you something way more powerful.
So how does it build this map? Well, it all comes down to two basic things. First, you've got the nodes. These are the individual clues, the concepts, the tasks, the resources. And then second, you have the relations. These are all the connections, the dependencies, the paths that link all those nodes together. This is how you start to turn all that chaos into some kind of structure.
And for most of us, this is where we start, right? A simple list, it looks organized, we can see all the individual items just fine, but all the hidden connections, the really important relationships that give all this data its meaning, they're completely invisible.
So, what happens when we totally change our perspective? What if we stop looking at the individual items on the list and start focusing on the relationships between them?
And just like that, with that one shift in perspective, the very same information completely transforms. It's not a list anymore. It's like a galaxy of interconnected points. This is that aha moment, the satellite view where you finally see the whole system, the entire problem chamber, all at once.
From this super high-level view, you're not lost in the weeds anymore. You can finally see the whole landscape, the true shape of your project, or your department, or hey, even your entire business. And here's where it gets really cool. As you start to zoom in, something amazing happens. Patterns just start to emerge. You begin to see these clusters of related ideas, hidden dependencies, bottlenecks that were totally invisible before. Suddenly, they become crystal clear. You can even zoom all the way down to one single node and see every single one of its relationships in incredible detail. So here's the bottom line. You're not guessing anymore. You're not just trying random keys and random doors. You are actively navigating the problem. Okay, so a visual map is really impressive, but how does this kind of approach actually help solve real-world business problems? Well, it directly targets some of the most expensive, most persistent issues that companies face.
These three challenges here, strategic drift, information silos, and complexity overload, they're really just symptoms of a bigger problem we could call strategic disconnection. You know what I'm talking about. It's that huge gap that forms when the strategy decided in the boardroom gets totally lost by the time it reaches the teams doing the work.
By making that web of connections between the big strategic goals and the day-to-day tasks completely visible, a system like this makes sure everyone is navigating by the exact same map. It literally bridges the gap between the vision and the reality. And that's why you hear it called a semantic operating system. Just think of it like a digital nervous system for the entire organization. It takes all that disconnected, fragmented data and weaves it into a single intelligent ecosystem that connects your strategy directly to what's actually happening on the ground.
Which, of course, brings us right back to our escape room. You finally get out of the problem chamber, not through guessing, not by luck, but through genuine, deep understanding, by finally seeing the true structure of the room itself.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that mastering complexity isn't about having all the answers lined up in a neat little list. It's about having the ability to see all the connections. So the question I want to leave you with is this: what invisible relationships are really determining your success? And what could you accomplish if you could finally see them all clearly?